And women should marry only when they want to. And they should marry only when they can afford. Not when he says so.
Not when he asks.
No, it's when you say so. Then you should marry. When I ask, you should say, oh, thank you very much. At least now I know where you stand. I'll come back to you. When I
have achieved that which I have set for myself.
And I want to have kids. Yeah, sure. We both have kids. When you can afford them. Not when I can afford, because I can bounce.
Sure.
And that's what happens with women, as in I bounce. Almost 7 out of 10 kids are born to single and raised by single mothers.
I'm joined today by Mzamo Masito. He is currently the Chief Marketing Officer at Google Africa. He was previously in the employ of several multinational brands, holding many positions from senior management to exco positions. He worked for brands such as Unilever, Nike, Vodafone, and today Google. Mzamo has a postgraduate diploma from UCT, an MBA from Gibbs, as well as, and is currently a PhD candidate at UCT. Wow. Mzamo, welcome to Braving It, and thank you for saying yes to the conversation.
Thank you.
You know what? This is our first meet-up, our first meet and greet officially. And to have you take a chunk out of your day and devote it to me, this show, and the production team, it humbles me. I'm honored. Thank you very much.
Super.
Okay, so you have a side hustle. In fact, you advocate for side hustles. You have an investment company, I believe. You mentor a few young people. You have your 9 to 5 at Google. You say yes to shows like Braving It. You did not have to say yes to this. As I said, we're meeting for the very first time. You don't know me. We literally just met the other day online, and yet you are here. Why was it important for you to show up and be present and say yes?
It is important because someone also gave me an opportunity. So since we're all products of opportunity, so no one goes up alone. So I do remember times when I did cold calling on someone, and then they either rejected me or they gave me the time and the talent, sometimes even the money. So I know how it feels like to be given an opportunity. Because that's the most important thing, is opportunity. And the greatest gift all of us can do is give time. I mean, time to democratize opportunity and success. So for me, it's more like whatever was done to me, I will pay it forward.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. So on this show, when I do the introductions, I very seldom get into someone's childhood, someone's upbringing. We usually just dive straight into the heart of the matter. We talk straight anxiety, rejection, all of that. And I think it's also because of time. But when I listened to you speak in all the other different interviews that you had, Zamo, your childhood, your upbringing was rough. And it's not one that I can glance over or just not mention at all. I really believe that you probably are the man that you are because of where you come from. In life, one has a time when they have to make, either one of the following choices. So you can either conform and allow yourself to be destroyed by your past, or you can evolve and allow it to propel you forward. And so I want you to take us back to you growing up in Cape Town as a small boy. What was life like? What did you see? What did you encounter?
It's weird. Like I always say to people, if majority of black people had tough times, so it kind of always feels normal because everyone around me was also struggling. So I grew up in Cape Town. My mom is a product of early teenage pregnancy. Some guy lied, and then she had my brother at age 15, 16, and then me, and she started working as a domestic worker at age 16. So, and we lived in Guguletu. I was born at Guguletu. But there were lots of us in that house. So lots. My grandfather, my mom has 5 sisters, brother, and everyone had kids. So you kind of crowded all the way. Like, so it's, and then we started moving into backyard dwellers. So a shack, someone's backyard. So most of my upbringing is just backyard dweller in someone's yard. And then some of the landlords have a superiority complex. They are also poor, but relative to you, they see themselves better. So I even remember an instance when I was young and we were at this backyard dweller, and I was playing with the kids from the main house.
Okay.
And then the lady of the main house came running and said to his kids, "You can't play with this one." And that's me. And I do remember how hurtful it was being sidelined for being poor or living in a shack by someone who's also poor, by the way. So it's kind of even worse. So it would have been better if they had mentioned I couldn't even, So, but it still stayed with me, that those things. And then I grew up hardcore times of gangsters. So I don't know if Joburg knows gangsters, but I grew up in Cape Town. So drugs, gangsters. I even remember when I was young, like there was these gangsters like where they killed this guy and they put his head on a broomstick and then they were parading. Now that's not something a child should see young, but it's kind of normal. Everyone thinks it's normal. Someone getting stabbed, shot. And I grew up with hardcore gangsters and drug dealers. And then at some point we moved and lived in Varala Park. Varala Park is Cape Flats. And that's also just moved from drugs to 10 times. Then I lived in Kailicha. We moved to this RTP house. There was a lot of us in it. I always slept on the floor earlier all the way. The only time I actually had a bed that I slept in was at varsity.
Wow.
If I remember, like, not sharing it with someone.
Yeah.
Or not sleeping on the floor. Yeah, because earlier on we also lived in the village. Because there were lots of us in Guguletu. Before we moved to Kailicha, we went to the Eastern Cape. We were sent to the Eastern Cape to live. Yeah, because it was just, there were lots of us there. So we moved to that village. Yeah, they treated us like shit. Like just Cinderella. A Cinderella story. Like, you just do all the work. And you just work. And then your parents send you food, you don't see it. And my brother and I remember sometimes we'll be so hungry. Now when they cook uputu, and then the crust, then you pour water in there, and then you pour sugar. And just to make it taste better. I remember those days like it was yesterday. Like, so because you grew up with deprivation, and you grew up with these pent-up desires, then you grew up with abandonment. And then earlier on, I think I was a teenager, I got abused by this man, I don't know to this day. And he took advantage of me because I lost money at the taxi rank in Nyanga East. And I couldn't go home. And I had this battery. Those days they used to charge car batteries if you wanted to watch TV or radio. So I was given this task to travel from Kailicha to Nyanga to get this battery charged. It is so heavy. Now when I get to the taxi rank, I don't have the money. I lost it. I was wearing shorts, but the money fell. So now I don't have money. I'm looking for help, and this man says, "Here, help me." And there's one thing about me that I've learned over time. I'm very naive in that I'm very trusting.
You trust first.
Yeah, I give 100% trust, and then you chip away at it. I don't know how to start at minus, and then it's your job to build it up. So this man did, and he took me to this dodgy place, and then he asked me to take my clothes off, and then I got lucky And then these voices just started speaking in that dark space. And then he ran away. He freaked out and he ran away.
Did you hear the voices as well?
Yeah. And then he ran away. And then I picked myself up. And then when I went outside, there was no one. So I just got lucky.
Wow.
I was saved. So then that betrayal was deep for me. Because that's betrayal for me, that someone will do that to you when you are in need and desperate. And I dislike when that happens, when people who are in need, then people abuse
Yes.
that need,
Yes.
and which is partly why I hate church, because that's what I've seen at church as well. That's what I've seen with some traditional healers. They do this thing that when you're in a state of really need. Then people abuse that. So then I grew up in Kailicha. I spent all my time in Kailicha. When we came back from the village, after 3 or 4 years, I negotiated with my mother that we can't go back there. It's not fun. And then she agreed.
Okay.
And then we moved to Kailicha. We lived in Kailicha. I studied in Kailicha.
Okay.
I finished high school in Kailicha. And then when I finished high school, my luck in Kailicha was that my stepfather took an interest in me.
Okay.
That was my luck. And that when he heard that there was a guy who got stabbed, I mean, in the township, no one talks, so you can't just go around and be impy. You can't snitch. No, you can't. I mean, you kind of know the rules of the lay of the land is that snitching is just death. So you don't snitch. But we saw this guy getting stabbed, and he ran and he dropped a bag.
Okay.
And then we decided the bag is ours. We appropriated the bag. When we opened the bag had drugs in it. And in the time when I was growing up, there was drugs like hardcore mandrakes. And there was one called German Ewing, because it had a swastika in it. Like, I don't even know who made that, but it was strong, really strong. Like, and so we took it and we decided to start a business. Because we thought, hey, what luck. We have capital right here. Let's start a business, sell these drugs, make more money, then we'll buy more drugs. And then we realized that we needed protection. So we went to this guy who was hardcore gangster, like being in jail, 28, 27, 26, general numbers. So we thought if we go to him,
He will provide the protection.
yeah, because then we'll partner with him.
Okay.
And he'll provide protection and we'll do a revenue share model with him. And we started selling, but within a day or two, he then said, we must leave the assets with him. But we didn't realize that you can't leave cabbage leaves with the goat because the goat will use.
Yes.
And then he was an addict.
himself too.
He helped himself and he took them.
Sure.
And then I remember we went there to get more supply. He had a gun. So the gun kind of spoke. And then we left. That was the end of my drug selling business.
And how old are you at this point?
I'm a teenager. I'm like 14, 15, we're selling these drugs. And it's something I'm now, when I reflect back on, I'm not proud of, because that stuff kills. And it destroys lives.
Families.
Yeah, and destroys families. And then my father, actually stepfather, heard about this on the streets, because we were also naive. We were publicizing this business. I mean, who publicizes illegal activity? But we did, because we were so excited about this business venture. And then my father heard about it, and then instead of shouting and punishing me, he took me to Scouts.
Wow.
So we
You
walked.
were a Boy Scout.
Yeah, so I started as a Boy Scout, which saved my life. That one intervention from a parent who cared. And he didn't even, normally you first get a nice clap, nice talking to. I grew up in the time where corporal punishment was a given. So now I think it's illegal.
No, very much so.
Yeah. So we went, and then to Scouts, we actually walked something like close to 15 Ks to the first Kailicha Scout group, which was in an informal settlement
Yes.
in Side B.
Yeah.
And this guy opened it in a shack. So I went there, I started there. That thing saved my life. Scouts saved my life. So I became a scout.
Yeah.
And then I saw things that I didn't see. I started hiking, climbing. Then there were badges. And then because I like winning, I just spent all my time collecting those badges, doing stuff. And then I became a patrol leader, troop leader, a junior scout master. So now, without realizing, I'm learning how to lead a team, how to champion, how to get badges. So I'll go learn because we didn't have people to teach us. So I'll go hustle, learn, then come back, teach others.
Okay.
Then I also didn't realize I was teaching.
Sure.
So then I'll teach, and then that's how I grew in Scouts, all the way to becoming a Springbok Scout.
This is very, very interesting for me because the next thing that I wanted us to talk about was exactly the confidence. I have watched you in many interviews and you have this incredible amount of confidence that you exude. And you have very strong convictions about who you are, what you believe in, why you do what you do. You have a mission statement that guides your life. You have a tagline, you have brand values. So obviously, I'm assuming this is all things that you experienced from your scouting days.
Yes.
You also advocate for self-awareness because you do it. You talk about people, encouraging people to see therapists, to go for those psychometric tests, etc., and build themselves from within. Is the reason why you sought intervention from a therapist, is it because of your upbringing and the trauma that came with some of the things that you encountered? Is that the reason why you initially went to see?
Yes, I initially went to see therapists because I got a scholarship to go to the US when I was in grade 12.
Yes.
So I'm in the US and we're studying conflict resolution and mediation. And also parts of the exercise is about who are you? Because you can't be a great conflict resolution mediator and facilitator if you're not self-aware and if you don't know your own struggles, your own woundings and traumas. That was the early starts of needing to understand who am I. Rather than you wait, and because we were taught to wait, you have a problem, then you go see a doctor.
So you were proactive.
So I learned that there's something called proactive healing and proactive help, that you don't have to wait to have a problem to go and do a full health check. So I learned that I must go do full health checks before you have a problem. Because at least once you know it, you can even manage it better before. Then same with therapy for me. I also learned that therapy is the same people go to see a physiotherapist. They post it on Instagram, Facebook, they are physiotherapists. I'm more into, we should post your therapist. Because that is cooler to me than six-pack. Not that there's something wrong with getting a six-pack, but you might as well get a brain six-pack pack, because that's more durable and stronger and more, because we are what we think anyway. And imagine if you could think better and you could correct your cognitive state, that is even better. So that's where I started. I started in the US, then I came back, and then I proactively then started seeing therapists, because I knew that I have these two woundings, betrayal and abandonment. And then the third one being just poverty. Because poverty is a pandemic illness that actually does destroy your self-esteem, your confidence. And then when I went to therapy, I also wanted to increase my self-esteem. But the lesson I learned from therapy was, if you don't know yourself, you can't then have strong self-esteem, because everyone has an opinion. My boss used to say opinions are like assholes. Everyone has it. And so everyone has an opinion about you. And if you're not strong and you don't know yourself, everyone's opinion becomes your fact.
That's it.
Whereas if you know yourself, you then build a strong filter that allows not all opinions to become your facts. Because then other opinions, you just look them as, so thank you.
Thanks.
You have a freedom to have an opinion,
Yeah.
but it's not my fact. So you ignore it. But if you don't know yourself, I don't think it's easy to bounce.
There's a saying that goes, it is the mark of an educated man to be able to hold a thought without accepting it.
Yes.
You know, there's freedom in that, and there's so much maturity, and it's something that we can instill in the different conversations that you had? Because you could have your point of view, I could have mine.
Yep.
And you can hold mine without accepting it, and I can hold yours, and we can still remain friends.
Yep,
You know,
and
nothing
that's-
awkward.
that's
because
key.
we get it. You said earlier on that you got a scholarship to study in the USA. When you came back, let's talk about your first official interview. Was that with Unilever?
Yes, actually my first official interview, I finished at UCT,
Yeah.
and then I started teaching while I was studying at
Okay.
UCT. So I opened, me and this other guy, like we did a night classes
Yes.
for black kids who come from the same spaces as us. So I went and I negotiated to the university to fund our program for kids coming from rural township who went to Bantu education, who were failing maths, stats, economics, and we did a program where we will translate all those concepts into mother tongue and examples that are culturally relevant.
Okay.
And my hypothesis at the time was that it is not the concept, it's how the concept is being taught that makes it not look clever. Because if you're going to teach something on a casino, we've never been inside a casino. So how are we going to be able to make sense of this concept with the casino when we've never been in a casino? If you're going to use blackjack,
Yeah.
we don't play cards. We play Crazy 8. That's as best as we play cards. Now, if you're not going to use Crazy 8 and you're going to use some fancy blackjack, how are we even going to... And also, if you're going to use... I remember my first lecture on utility theory. They used pizza.
Yeah.
At that point, I've never eaten a pizza. So I was trying to figure out, how does the pizza look like?
In the first place.
In the first place. How does it taste like?
Yes.
Now the lecture's done, finished. And I'm still trying to figure out,
thing.
this thing. Then we translated that stuff to Fed Cooks, Tribe, Samp. Things that we know that people will get. And then now I tell you, if you eat this thing up to a point, you saturate your utility. They're like, yeah, you're right. What happens when you drink more beer? You're going to vomit. I was like, yeah, that's what's called negative utility. They're like, oh, yeah, I get it. So why didn't you give me that example in the first place? And so that's what we were doing. So I started lecturing, and then I did summer classes at UCT. And then I thought, I don't have interviewing skills. I learned that the Careers Guidance Office has what they call mock-up
Mock-up
interviews. So I thought, let me go to these mock-up interviews. I was not looking for a job, actually.
Yes.
I just wanted to see how I would do or perform in an interview. So I went to these mock-up interviews. One was Unilever, I think it was Procter, Coke, all of them. So you go in and it's like a real setting, but it's mock-up. Like they interview you,
Yes.
they give you feedback at the end, how you performed, what they think you should improve on. So I went to the Unilever one, got interviewed. I'm taking this thing, I have notes, I want to learn
Yeah.
how, and at the end, the following day, the guy from HR called and said, listen, I really like what we saw in you
Yes.
as a panel. Would you like to come for final interviews at Unilever? I'm like, what? Then he says, come. And then I said to him, I've never been to Devon, so I was thinking in my head,
Yes.
never been to Devon. So I said to him, hey, are you going to fly me there? And then he
That's what I
says,
want you to
yes.
talk about, is how bold and brave you were
Yeah.
in that first interview.
So I said, are you
Oh
going
my
to fly
God.
me?
Yeah.
He says, yes. Then I said, are you paying for accommodation? Because I'm broke, so I need to know. He says, yeah, we'll house you at the Royal Hotel. Then the Royal Hotel used to be like where the Meghan and Harry's great-grandparent, their grandmother,
Yeah,
what's
fancy.
the fancy queen used to stay. It was fancy then. So I thought, okay, cool. And then I said to him, I don't know Devon. I've never been to Devon. If you let me stay an additional 3 days and you pay for it so that I get to know the place, just in case I do well in the interview and you want me, I would also like to know more about Devon.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying for it. And then he said yes to all of them. And now the thing is, I learned that in the US.
That's what I wanted to ask you as well, is where and from whom did you learn this?
I learned it in
here
the-
are taught to be grateful for just the opportunity that you are given.
No, I learned it in the US because I was hanging out with African Americans. I was hanging out with these Americans who are bold. They're very big on self-promotion.
Okay.
African Americans and Americans, they're big on, they don't wait for you to say they're great. They're telling you, I'm still humbly sitting there thinking, someone has to say it first.
Yes.
And then maybe then I will. No, they're like, I'm great, you know. I got distinctions here. And I'm like, wow, these people are arrogant. I'm thinking that.
Yeah.
And then I also, when I was in the US, I hang out with Nigerians.
Okay.
And also Nigerians are bold.
Yeah.
They speak up. So I was like, hey, I need to adopt this style. Our style is kind of very master-servant relationship. I like this style of, I would rather be called arrogant.
Yeah.
I would rather my confidence be confused as arrogant than my humility as a servant.
Yes.
Because our humility
Yes,
makes us servants,
yes,
not
yes.
masters and kings.
Yes,
So I learned it in the US and I came back. So then also I learned the thing that if you don't ask, you don't get. And the only other thing I noticed that helped me in those interviews, I was the only statistician. And black and statistician, mathematician are rare. Black people are allergic to maths and stats. So we run away from it. And I had majored in maths. I had a postgrad in maths, stats. I majored in statistics. So I'm kind of the only person here who has. So I kind of quickly realized that, hey, actually, no one here has what I have, including the white kids. I'm the only one. So I should actually continue reminding everyone that as a statistician, that's how I start. I used to say that. As a statistician, I will answer this question. And it helped, by the way, because they were like...
In the audience.
Yeah, it's like, I'm clever. One, it says I'm clever.
Yeah.
Because I should say I'm clever because only out of the thousands who did stats 1, only 10, only 3 were in honors. So I should say I'm clever. So I shouldn't be arrogant. I shouldn't think I'm arrogant. It's actually a truth.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me. I then got the job.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to work for Unilever.
Amazing. Zamo, I've heard you speak very passionately about mentorship. In today's digital era, where information resides at the tip of our fingers, one can search for anything. You can get access to podcasts, YouTube clips, books even. And I'm aware of the fact that the majority of people still don't have access to that. But those who do have access to that and come to you and say, Mzamo, please mentor me, do you still say yes? And also, you know, or do you just think that the concept of mentorship has been modeled incorrectly?
I apply the method that was given to me early 20s when I started working at Unilever. So I wanted to make a decision whether to go to India or to take a new role. And it was early 20s then. Then I went to Doug Bailey, who was the CEO of Unilever South Africa then, to ask for help. And instead of Doug Bailey helping me with that, he asked me, do you have a life plan? Do you have a budget? Do you have a brain key for yourself? Before you make this decision, is this decision anchored in these 3 things? Because you must make decisions that build on where you're going. Do you know where you're going? I was like, holy shit, I don't know. And at that time, I'm broke. So I'm thinking, why is this guy asking for budget? I'm broke. So, and then he says to me, money is a measure of your choices and freedom. If you don't handle money well, you're going to make bad choices. And everything is interdependent. So I need you to go and do these exercises. So he made me to do exercises. So I did the life plan, the brain key, the money budget. I went back to him, I showed him, and then he showed me how to write a life plan. And then once I did that, he then said, okay, now ask me that question again as to whether you should go to India or stay. So now I didn't even need his answer because now I could see how India was better for me based on where I wanted to be. So I didn't need him anymore. Then he said to me, you don't need a mentor. You first need to know you. You rushing to know that I need a mentor, So what I sometimes do now, when people ask me to mentor them, I politely tell them that here are the 5 or 7 exercises I would like you to do. You do them, then you can come back. So far, it helps me filter and
One
chase
who's going
away
to waste your
the
time.
9 who just think it's cool to have a mentor. Whereas the thing is, it's not the mentor you need. It's you who needs to know you that you need first. Then you can then figure out who you need in your life to help you with where you're going. So for me, I say to people, I might not be the right person for you, but I can help you with the exercises that I did that helped me get to now know this is my brain key. I'm clear what my values are. I'm clear what my purpose in life is. I'm clear what my strengths and personality strengths are. I'm clear, these are the things I'm clear on. Life plan. I know where I want to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. Money. I'm clear that I need to have fuck of money or else there's no freedom. So I'm clear now. You see, I'm clear. Now I look and I'm saying, okay, who in the world do I need? Do I need a sponsor? Do I need a mentor? Do I need a coach? Sometimes I don't need a mentor. I need a sponsor. A sponsor is someone who speaks for me,
When you're not there.
who opens doors for me. So I shouldn't confuse the two. Sometimes I just need a door opener. Then I go find the sponsor. Sometimes I need a mentor, someone who talks to me. Because I don't need someone's going to coach. I need someone's going to say, if you want to get here to there, do 1, 2, 3. And I just follow it. Sometimes I need a coach because then they're going to ask me questions and they're not going to give me the answer, but they're going to ask me the right question. So that's how I do it now. And so far, my polite no is the steps and exercises. And normally, people don't come back.
Yes.
The ones who are not serious,
Yes.
they don't come back.
Yeah.
And the ones who are serious do the exercises. And then they tell me, oh shit, I thought I was going to get it done in a month. This thing is hard. Can I come back to you? I said, yeah, take your time. And they come back after 6 months. They said, I'm done now. I would like to meet with you. And we go through the exercises. And then I take them through the exercises. And the exercises reveal who they are.
They are. Even to themselves.
Yeah.
They start to
And
see.
they start to see,
Yeah.
oh shit,
Yeah.
this is who I am, this is who I am. And then when we're done with that, and now they've got a brain key, they've got a money plan, they've got a life plan. Then I ask, who now do you think you need in your life to help you achieve or sustain or change your money plan, your brain key, and your life plan? Now you've got 3 things that could guide you. And then they start saying, actually, you're not the right person. I said, yeah, I'm actually not head. But my job was to get you to you seeing who you need. And maybe my job is just to be devil's advocate and continue to tell you that you're not thinking big enough. That thing is just too small. And to also tell you that you're broke. That's what the budget says. You just need someone to tell you the truth that you're broke and you're living beyond your means.
Talking about that, just being broke and people living beyond their means, you do encourage people to tap into multiple streams of income. It's big for you.
Yep.
It gives you that freedom, that liberation, so that you're not at the mercy of your boss or the people around you necessarily.
Yep.
You can just live freely. A lot of moms would absolutely love that. More freedom, more money, etc. You know, we've got the kids that we're looking after. We've got our 9 to 5 that we're looking after. We've even got our husbands or our partners that we are having to also, you know, look after. And then there's the extended family, you know, that also requires umakoti.
Yep.
There are all those obligations. How do you advise that one go about now exploring this avenue? Because it's yet another layer to the already, you know, a full cup.
Normally, I would say this upfront that women have greater challenges than me being born in patriarchy. So I have male unearned privileges. So which makes my load less than women. So let me start upfront that it's harder
Yeah, it's harder.
for women, much harder, even if both of us are black. But I know that as a black woman, you have more woundings and traumas than I have. So let's start there, that the playing field are not level, even amongst within black. I know that if you were a black woman, LGBTQ, it would even be worse.
Yeah.
If you are a black woman living with a disability, it would even be worse. So let's start there, that I know that it's harder. So I don't even want to act like it's not. And I have 3 black daughters. And I know that it's going to be harder for them than if I had male sons. So the first thing I say to women when they come to me and ask me for advice, if they are not married and they yet don't have kids, I tell them, delay.
Okay.
Let's start there. Like, there is enough scientific evidence to prove that men thrive under marriage far more than women do. We benefit from being mothered by women. We actually are the greatest beneficiaries of marriage, not women. So there's enough evidence that women, when they married, they have to take a 10-step back, even in their career, promotions, earnings, potential, everything. It's even worse than when women have kids. They have to make more sacrifices. If you look at a guy who they join the same company, they are married, they have kids, same company. You see the guy's career trajectory progression just goes up. Even when there's kids, you don't see like a slump and then, no, he just continues. The same woman, in the same they started, they were doing well together. She gets promoted, and then she has kids. Then she gets married first, slump. Because now she has to make sacrifices about, I have to cook, I have to be at home. Now this one doesn't, the male. So I think that we should advocate more, not less, for delaying marriage and having kids. And women should marry only when they want to. And they should marry only when they can afford. Not when he says so.
Not when he asks.
No, it's when you say so. Then you should marry. When I ask, you should say, oh, thank you very much. At least now I know where you stand. I'll come back to you. When I
have achieved that which I have set for
yes,
myself.
and I want to have kids, yeah, sure, we both have kids. When you can afford them. Not when I can afford, because I can bounce. Sure. And that's what happens with women, as in I bounce. Almost 7 out of 10 kids are born to single and raised by single mothers. Yeah. So it doesn't, you can't think you're special that there's 7 out of 10 women who are raising kids, single. You see, so I start there first. I said, guys, it is what it is. The second part then is, I know that women are nurturing, so they give more back home than guys. Actually, guys don't give more. We forget, like once you get we become blessers and other things. You even forget sending money home. Whereas women remember home. They give home. The only thing I say to the woman is, oxygen mask on you first. Because when you're on the plane, they don't say they don't even say put it on your child. They say put it on you first. And then you put it on the child. So maybe it's about time that you become selfish. Selfish has been given a bad name. I think we should actually...
Do you not call it self-care now?
Yeah, self-care, but just be selfish and take care of yourself first.
All right, so you've stepped into many presentations, whether it's the boardroom or just presentations from, just passion projects that you do. If you're anything like most of us, I'm sure you are, we get nervous, we get anxious leading up to that particular delivery. Content knowledge aside, because I know that the more you're familiar with your content, the easier it gets. But you're still human, there's still things that happen inside. How do you quieten the storm that starts to arouse inside of you just before the delivery?
I would like to start with what you said, because I don't want us to underplay it, that you need to know your shit. Really, like you need to know your work. And you need to be prepared. Like I listened to Michelle Obama once, and she was saying, when you come from an underprivileged group, you do not have the luxury to wing it. You don't have the luxury. So you need to come prepared. So that we shouldn't underplay the need for knowing your stuff. You don't have the luxury. You're not John, who plays golf, and so he might have, they're like, it was his off day today, No, you, Sipho, no, Shem, you don't. So, Lerato, you don't. It's just the truth. I'm from an underrepresented group, know your shit.
Full stop.
Full stop. Prepare, rehearse. So I start there.
Yeah.
I do it. I rehearse, I prepare. So when people see me do these public presentations, it's not I just stood there and then I'm winging it. No, I put a lot of effort in reading, studying, practicing, rehearsing, asking my partner to listen to me. If it's not my partner, I practice with the dogs. They don't give feedback, but at least I have an audience. I do stuff and my partner would listen. I said, I think I'm going to do it this way. And then she'll say, oh, but that doesn't sound right. And then I said, okay, maybe let me change it. And I do that. Even in my sleep, sometimes I don't stay. I dream like I'm doing this thing. That's the part about practice. Okay. Now, stress, anxiety, doubt never goes away. Anyone who says they don't have it is lying. Because where you have faith without doubt, you have dogma. Faith is not absence of doubt. Faith includes doubt. It's just that with faith, you push through. Same, when I go and present, the practice everything strengthens my faith. But I still go there with anxiety. I mean, I promise you, before the presentation starts, especially those public ones I do, and people say, oh, you did so well. But they don't see behind the scenes, my mouth is dry. I'm panicking. I even sometimes have runny tummy.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I have diarrhea. I'm like, and then what's going on? I'm in the toilet. I'm praying there in the toilet. And for me, people don't realize that before I start, I'm always praying to God that, please use me.
Use me.
And can I be useful and helpful? Can I get to a point where it is you who talks, not me?
Because we forget that it's not even about
no,
us. It's about everybody
it's
else.
everything. So you are being used. Actually, for me, I measure absence of doubt, absence of anxiety as arrogance. I then know that I'm becoming arrogant. And I also measure that if there's absence of doubt and anxiety, it means it doesn't matter.
Hey, that's right.
So I measure it that way as well. When it matters, I have anxiety, I have doubt, I fear, because it matters.
I love that, because it matters.
When it doesn't matter, yes, it means something to me first, not even to the people I'm present. It means a lot to me. So I should have anxiety, I should have stress, I should have these things. Then the only thing I remember is faith is not without doubt. Those who have faith must have doubt. Those who have doubt must have more faith. That's all. That's how I remind myself. I preach in my head as well, and I remember that, okay, Mzamo, this one requires you have doubt. So go get more faith. On this one, you have too much faith. Go get more doubt.
You know, one of the last things I want to ask you, in fact, I'm going to ask the producers to hand me my phone. It's somewhere over there. While they're doing that, in the past, in all the different executive roles that you've occupied, was there ever an opportunity that was presented to you that you felt you just were not ready to occupy it? Like, you know what, Mzamo, yeah, it's a great opportunity, but you're not ready. Or you went for it, and when you were in it, you realized that you bit off way too much, more than you could chew, and you just had to swim for dear life. Has that been the case for you?
Because I come from a space where you are underrepresented, and so your confidence is not always high, you start to think that because you also thought that you have to work 3 times harder to be ready for anything, whereas John can be 30% ready, I have to be 130% ready. So I grew up with that, so that is a trap up front. That was my first trap. You don't have to be. I've seen male counterparts, white, applying for roles that they are 50% ready for. And they just thumbs up with conviction. And they just proceed and succeed. So I did have those instances where I remember when I wanted to become, because I was solid in research, insight. I'm a statistician. I did anthropology, psychology, behavioral science. I I know how to do qualitative research, quantitative research. So in that field, I was even head of consumer and market insights and science analytics. I could do equations. So there I was in a field that I was just, and I was head of this for Africa at Unilever. But then I wanted to move to marketing. Then I went and I proposed it and I got it. And then when I was in there, I was like, oh shit, I actually don't know how to do
How to do this marketing?
yeah, the artwork, design.
Yes.
I knew it from research, but I was a consultant, so I could easily then say, hand over. But I didn't do the P&L. I didn't run a P&L. I didn't do a gross margin growth analysis. I didn't do a revenue growth plan, market share growth plan. So my first few months, I was like, holy shit, what did I do? Maybe I should go back to where I was really great. There I was the thought leader. Everyone, I was the go-to. Now I'm in primary school again, and now I'm like, holy. And now I have to catch up.
Yes.
Now I have to go and ask people,
Eish.
how do you run a P&L? How do you do project plan? How do you launch? How do you do a launch plan, go-to-market plan? How do things that I took for granted, but now I have to do. So I had to, how to write a brief properly to the agency. How do you critique the creative? Whereas remember, I'm a researcher, so by the time you give it to me, I was not part of the whole nonsense, but I will come back and say, that shit, it's not gonna work. This is what the consumer says. Now I'm the one who has to write the brief, and so it took a while to get into the rhythm.
Okay.
And then I had to learn. Same, when I wanted to be the chief brand officer at Nike and run the World Cup, the truth is, I've never ran a World Cup before.
Yes, many people didn't.
Yeah, no one. But I went there and I said, I'll take this job if you give me the World Cup. But deep down, I was like, what are you doing? Because you've never done this shit before. And you're going to flunk. But then in deep down, I'm like, I remember saying to myself, faith is not without doubt. I'm from Unilever. I learned about marketing. I know what marketing is. I know what research is. I know what media is. So I'm equipped. I don't know how World Cup works, but I do know the things I know. So I'm going to lean on the things I know and then learn the new things I don't know. When I got the job, I was still nervous and I was thinking, shit, what have I done? And now they even changed the reporting lines. I'm reporting to global. Now I'm like, yo. And now the Americans, bold. And also I joined, the company I joined, Nike then, the meeting, one of the first few meetings I attended, I was in Portland. Someone got fired on the spot. In America,
For
you
not
can
knowing
be...
their stuff.
Yeah, they were fumbling there on the chart. And then they said, time up, the meeting. And then they said, maybe also you might well pack your box. So I'm looking at this guy packing his things, and I'm thinking, holy shit, what have I done? Thinking to myself that you are next. You are just going to get fired. You don't know your stuff. You need to get your stuff right. And that freaked me out, that incident. It also helped me. It freaked me out, but it also said, you need to know your shit. Get your act together. And then I started going around asking people who have done World Cups, Euro, Olympics. I started making meetings with them while I was in Portland to learn, what did you do? How did you do it? What can I learn from you? And then I started surrounding myself with people who've done these things before me. Because I now realize that shit, it's game time. The thing is serious. And then next thing, you speak your convictions. You start introducing things that have never been done before. When we built the Nike Football Training Center in Soweto, it's never been done before, even within Nike. When we went to pitch that money and we get over $10 million to do it, it's never been done before. So I'm also thinking, hey, probably these things are going to fly. But I go there, we pitch, and they all like, amazing. You guys are amazing. And I'm thinking, yo. And now I'm also thinking, yeah, this is amazing. I know it, guys. That's why I brought it here to you to... Deep down, I didn't think that. But now they also say, amazing, we should roll this out globally. This is a global best practice. Now, I'm thinking, we're doing global stuff. But the truth is, deep down, I was not thinking that. I was thinking, just in Soweto, it's safe. If it bombs, no one will see. And then they take it to Brazil. They take it to other, you see so you do, I've been in instances where I took these jobs where deep down, I didn't.
Earlier on, I spoke about mentorship. There was a time, and in closing, there was a time when it was 2012, and I wrote to this person I had identified to be my mentor. And I just wanted to share something with you, and maybe you can let me know, did I approach it right? Do you think their feedback was fair to me when I approached this person? I'd never met them before. So it went something like this. I actually went and found the post. It was 2012. I said, hi, you don't know me. However, I thought to take a chance and write to you anyways. I wanted to inquire and get your thoughts on mentorship. Regards, Lerato. And this person said, hi, life is about doing. You've taken the first step. Where are you based? First, I will need to understand what you mean by mentor, expectations, etc. It's not something I take lightly. Thank you for even thinking of me anyways. Then I wrote back, hi, I'm based in Polzov. My idea of mentorship is the following things. I'm just trying to scan through it very quickly. I've come to appreciate what it is that I do. I'm in marketing, I'm in brand management as well. And then I mentioned that I've applied for several positions within the business that I'm currently in, and I'm still waiting. I have so many dreams and aspirations, and I would like to be guided from veterans like yourself. And then this person said, read and know thyself is the first step to freedom. Don't be too hard on yourself. We all pay our school fees with life choices. Life is about choices and trade-offs, opportunity cost and consequences. When I'm next in Johannesburg, let's make some time to meet. I would like to get to know more about you. I also want to know the following: your life plan, meaning the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the educational, the health plan. What is your financial budget? What is your career plan from now until 2020? What do you make of that response? Do you think
sounds like me?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
It was 2012. It
2012.
was 2012. I wrote to you. I wanted to start with this, but then I thought, no, let me finish off with this. I was so honored when I called you for this opportunity, and you said yes. And then when I started to watch other interviews that you've done with Wo Bokhosi for Think and Near, is it Think and Near? Think and Near. You know, you were consistent in your messaging around mentorship. And when I looked at these screen grabs, I'm like, my gosh, nothing has changed. Your convictions were that then, and they still are now. And it's so amazing to see someone, it's almost 9 years. 9 years has gone past, and you are still that same consistent human being who said yes then to my mentorship proposal, and you said yes to this. So I just wanted everyone to know that this guy is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
You really are an amazing human being. I know that you spoke of leaders being great human beings first, before they can be great leaders. I believe in servant leadership because we are there to serve when we are in our roles of leadership. And this is how you have served me in my life. And sure, I didn't take up I was one of those people who didn't do the work. So I fell away. I fell away, but here's the reason why I fell away. It's because things started to take form and started to come together for me, you know. So I went on to do some great things with my life. And here we are today. I do many other things. I've got side hustles that you promote as well. I do. I'm a mom, and I do many other things with my life. Family, legacy, business. You know, I've got a visual arts agency, etc. I do a lot. But I just wanted to say that please keep doing what you're doing. Please keep saying yes. We're not celebrities. We're not public figures. We don't necessarily know each other, but you show up anyways. And it's in the showing up that things start to grow. So thank you very much. And I wanted to say thank you to all of you for being patient enough to watch this. I really hope that you've learned something. I've learned so much. And as usual, you know, share your comments with us below, and please keep watching Braving It. Thank you for watching.